Hello everyone, welcome. It is January 2021. It has to be a better year, right? All cheers all around. We are, as I'm sure you are too, just delighted to be walking into a new year with fresh possibilities and hopefully some travel, because I don't know that I've gone this long without traveling, at least in the last decade. And it's been hard. Like, I am ready to pack my bags, and I'm really ready to get on a cruise ship. Actually, that's the one I want to do the most. I want to get on a cruise ship and have fruity drinks with umbrellas in them and listen to reggae and watch the waves go by. That's really what I want to do. I'm convinced that the whole country just needs a warm cookie and a hug. And I think a fruity drink and watching the waves go by would also be a very good prescription for all of us. So my hope is that you had a nice break for the holidays. I know that it's probably been a little, what's that? Oh, sorry. I couldn't read that. Yeah. So my name is Angela Huffman, and I am happy to have you here. I'm kind of letting other people kind of filter in. We live stream this both on our Facebook page, our Facebook group, as well as on our website and over on YouTube. So there's a lot of people kind of filtering in through different entry points, so kind of letting people kind of gather. And if you would, over in the chat section, over in the comment section, why don't you type, I normally have you type like where you're from, which is super cool. So do that too, because I really love to see like how far flung we are, because we get folks who are watching like from Ireland and stuff. So put like where you are watching from, but also like, did you get something kind of cool for Christmas? It doesn't have to be quilt related. Like my favorite Christmas gift this year, I was given a bourbon barrel head. I know that that's probably not the most common gift outside of the state of Kentucky, but you take these wooden barrel heads and they get carved and kind of burned. The carving is burned into the top. And anyway, I was given a bourbon barrel head by my husband with our combined last names and the date that we got married, and it's going to hang there in the dining room. So that was my super cool favorite gift for the holidays. My daughter gave me this really awesome shaker. I guess they're called shakers, you know, that you mix drinks in and you put the lid on and you shakey. But it's the shape of a penguin. So it has a little penguin nose, has little penguin flippers. It's adorable. So that was my second favorite. So anyway, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're joining us. Jesse, do we have people filing in?
Yeah, we do. We've got people in Eminence, Kentucky.
Eminence.
Ohio.
Cincinnati, hello.
Tampa, Florida.
And Tampa.
And all the way up in Burlington, Ontario, and Canada.
Oh, Burlington, Ontario, and Canada. Awesome. I'm so glad that you guys could join me. I know that you all are busy. I know that you've got a lot going on, and it just, it makes me feel so honored that you choose to spend time with me. And we work really hard on these monthly sessions with you, and hopefully you get something out of them. And just know that if you're ever not able to join us live, we do record everything. So you will find all of our past Clubhouse meetings. They're all there ready for you to watch whenever you care to watch them. It's probably easier to find all the past episodes over on our YouTube channel, because you can actually dial down by date and stuff a little bit more easily that way. But we do have them, a link to them on our website. If you go to the quiltedjoy.com website and you go to our Clubhouse area, we do have a section there where you can go and see past episodes and what we've talked about. And of course, 2020 was the year of the feather. So we talked about spines and fitting feathers and different shapes and easy plumes and whimsical plumes and formal plumes and circle wreaths at the end of the year. So we really covered feathers in a great way. And it's been so much fun in the Clubhouse to see our Facebook group, to see all of your feathers too, and how many people are like stepping out on that ledge and trying feathers for the first time. Always super fun. One of the things that I miss in addition to traveling is teaching quilting in person, because when you teach, you see the little light bulb go off around the room, and you see people go, oh, I get it now, I get it. And that's so much more difficult to do over the internet. So it's really such a joy for me when you post photos of something that you've tried based on what you've learned in the Clubhouse. It just lets me know that we're connecting and that you're picking up what I'm putting down and that it's all kind of making sense to you. So that really, I love that. I love it. And I'm a little nosy too, so I want to see what you're working on as well. So, so this year we're going to be talking a lot about grid designs, grid-based design. So I like to tease with my friend Sarah and say that, grid-based designs, it's freedom with boundaries, right? So it's for those folks who maybe you're interested in free motion, but maybe it's a little intimidating. You can take grid-based designs, and they are so flexible, and it's a great way if seeing a wide open space kind of makes your heart stop. If you think about grid-based designs in your blocks and your borders and your sashings, it's so versatile. I think that you'll find that you can really step out into some pretty amazing quilting by focusing on a grid. So we're going to talk about grids today, and I want to be sure that you're on our newsletter list, because in our newsletter we will have additional information, additional designs for you that will only go out to those folks who are in our newsletter list. So we're going to have additional kind of educational support for you throughout 2021. So be sure you are signed up for our newsletter. We also have lots of little goodies in there and links and tutorials and fun stuff in our newsletter. So be sure that you are signed up. You can go to quiltedjoy.com and go to quiltedjoy.com/newsletter-sign-up. There's also a little link in the very, very top menu bar on the right. It'll say join the club. Click on that and you can sign up and make sure that you are on our newsletter. Quiltedjoy.com, right. You have to go to our website to sign up for the newsletter. Okay, so I also wanted to let you know that I do have some virtual classes that are coming up. I'll be teaching the APQS Beginners class, and that will be in February. And that class is actually free to those who have purchased an APQS machine within the last year, as long as you haven't taken the class from another dealer. So you get that class included with your purchase if you've purchased a new or a used APQS machine from a dealer, a store, or the factory. So if you're interested, go to our website and you can send in a contact form there and just send us an email there at quiltedjoy.com, and then we can get you all signed up for that. And then the following day, I always teach kind of in tandem, is an introduction to custom quilting. And that class is really geared for those who want to kind of get a high level view of custom quilting and walk out of that class, virtually walk out. This is all on Zoom, and it's all recorded, so you can go back and rewatch this class. So that class, the Introduction to Custom Quilting class, is really going to give you a high-level look, and you'll leave that class with a bunch of blocks, borders, corners, sashing designs that I think will serve you well over time, with a big downloadable basket of goodies full of designs that you'll be ready to put on your next, your first custom quilt. So do look at that. If you are interested in that beginning long arm class, the APQS beginning long arm class, but you don't have an APQS machine, or you haven't purchased or you bought an APQS machine from a private individual, you can still take the class. The class, you can register and sign up there on our website, just pop it in your cart. But just if you are one of those who's eligible to take it free, you just have to contact us so we can do some work on the back end to get you registered for the class. But I would love to have you in my virtual classroom. I know you'll have fun. And then if you are close to Louisville, we do have an APQS Roadshow coming up, or you may know someone who is within a few hours of Louisville. We will have all of our machines loaded up with fabric to play. So if you know someone who's interested in purchasing a long arm machine, we do have the APQS Roadshow coming up in February. So you will find all that information as well over on quiltedjoy.com. Okay, but here's the big news that I want you to know. So we are so excited that it's not 2020 anymore. We want to have a big celebration, and we're going to glide into January with a thread sale. So the whole month of January, we have marked down our Glide king cones, our Glide mini cones, our Magna Glide bobbins, both M and L, and we've got them all on the website for you at a marked down price. So I hope that you celebrate with me that we're starting a new year and have the positivity that we're all going to kind of get to the point where we can get on cruise ships and drink fruity drinks again. So we're celebrating with our Glide into January thread sales. So hopefully you find that fun too. So a big box of thread is always a good thing. Okay, so we are going to talk about grid designs. Now, I have a straight grid here on the computer to show you, and it's just a 9-patch. There's 2 9-patch grids. And so what you want to do when you're thinking about grids, it could be that the piecing has done this for you, right? That's a 9-patch. So you could do this in a 4-patch, a 9-patch, a 16-patch. It could be that when you're thinking about grid designs, the block you're going to put it in has already been drawn for you with the fabric piecing itself. If it hasn't, then you will need to mark a grid. So I just want to show you here on the fabric, Kelsey, hopefully this shows up. Here on the fabric, we've just taken just a regular piecing ruler and a regular old chalk pencil. This is the kind that we have with the ceramic tip to it, and just have drawn the grid. So that's one way to do it. Another way to draw a grid is to use a stencil. So here's probably the simplest one, and it's just a 1-inch straight grid. And so if you wanted to mark a grid on fabric for the techniques that we're going to kind of be chatting about today, you would put it on the fabric. I'm going to move it over here, Kelsey. You would put it on the fabric, and then what you would use is a pounce pad typically to pounce, to transfer those marks over. So here's a pounce pad. This particular one I have blue chalk in. Now that wouldn't make sense for this fabric because it's blue fabric, so then it wouldn't show up. But then there's all different colors. This one is a white chalk, so that would certainly show up on that blue fabric. So you would use your pounce pad chalk to pounce this square grid. Now, here's the problem. That grid is a 1-inch grid. So you may not want a 1-inch grid. You may want a 2-inch grid. You may want a 3-inch grid. You may want a 4-inch grid. So one of the ways around that is there's also stencils that are just lines. Now this particular stencil, I'll put it down here, Kelsey, maybe that'll be better. This particular one, these are 1-inch lines. So what you could choose to do is to take your favorite marking device, whatever that is. It might be something like this that has disappearing ink on one side or blue ink on the other, or that same chalk pencil that we were talking about before. And if you wanted a 2-inch grid, then what you would do is you would just do not every, but every other slot. And that would get you 2-inch going horizontally. And then I'm going to rotate this, and then I would do 2 inches, every other one, to get it vertically. So this kind of stencil, you can make it be a 1-inch grid, a 2-inch grid, a 3-inch grid, a 4-inch grid, heck, whatever you wanted, based on which one of the slots you mark and which ones you leave alone. Do all the ones horizontal and then do all the ones vertically. You can also just use a plain old, piecing ruler to mark your grid. So however you do it, you just need to have a grid. So I've got a grid up here on the computer that we're going to use. And at home, you can just take a piece of paper, graph paper. I like the graph paper that has like every 5th line is super heavy. So it's got the little boxes, but it's got the bigger ones also marked. And that kind of makes this whole process a little bit easier. Okay, so I want to just kind of today go over 2 super simple designs, because what I want you to focus on today is the path we are going to take as we move through this grid. Because once you know the path, then you can put anything on that path. It's kind of like when we were talking about feathers, and we were talking about, well, you need a spine, and then on that spine, you need to find your happy place. Whatever your happy plume is. Mine, I told you before, were penguin feathers. I love penguin feathers. If you want to know more about penguin feathers, you can go back and watch that portion of the clubhouse that we did to show you my favorite feather. But this is the same idea. We're going to use the same path, and then we're going to talk about different things you can put on the path. So when we talk about the path, I want you to think of this 9 patch as a house. And up here is the attic of the house. And the house actually has 3 levels to it. So I have my top level of my house, yeah, and my top level has 3 rooms, 1, 2, 3 rooms to the top level of my house. And then I have a middle level of my house, and the middle level of my house also has 3 rooms to the middle level of my house. And then I have the bottom level of my house. And again, that bottom level has 1, 2, 3 rooms to my house. So I want to be sure that I am thinking about how I'm going to travel through my house, because that's going to give me the best path to take with each of my different designs that I'm going to put on that path. So the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to come out of this little attic, and I like to teach this as a little ladybug. And my little ladybug, she's been up there in the attic all winter long, and she comes out at springtime, and she comes out on this top level of my house, and she hops across the ceiling. And then she hits that wall, and she hops down that wall. And then she hits that side of the wall, and she comes up into the next room of my house, and then hops across the ceiling and the wall and the wall and the ceiling and the wall. Now she's on the floor. Now she's on the bottom portion of this top level of my house. So now she's going to hop across the floor and the floor and the floor. And now she's ready to drop into the middle section of my house, the middle level of my house. Again, ceiling, wall, wall, ceiling, wall, wall, ceiling, wall. Now the floor, 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 floor. Now she's going to drop into the bottom level of my house. Ceiling, wall, wall, ceiling, wall, wall, ceiling, wall, floor, floor, floor. She got a little jumpy there on the end, didn't she? A little bigger jump on the end. Now, at this point, I've spotted her, right? At this point, I've seen her hopping through my house. At this point, I'm after her. So at this point, she's going to hop up to the attic to hide. So that's the path, super traditional path, by the way, and it's not super forgiving either. So if you take a look at what I've drawn, you can see where my ladybug was not hopping as consistently as the next door room or the next door ceiling. And so because this design makes circles to the eye, and the eye is super great about finding symmetry, because my ladybug hops may not be spot on symmetrical, the eye will go right to it. But I want you to know this path, I want you to know this design, because it's easier to teach you variations if you know the basic foundation of what the design was based on. It's kind of like when we were doing feathers, and we talked about how the Amish feather, the Amish over-the-top traditional bump feather, is the hardest feather to make, but until you know that traditional way of making a feather, the shortcut ways aren't going to make a whole lot of sense to you. So this is why I'm teaching you this. This is a little more difficult than I would want you to start with, this particular pattern, but it's so great. It's a great way to teach you the path. If you were going to stitch this on a quilt, I would probably have you grab a little circle ruler, like a 2-inch or a 3-inch, it depends on your grid, right? But if you're doing a 2-inch grid, I'd have you grab a 2-inch ruler, or a circle ruler, or a 3-inch circle ruler, and that way your ladybug is hopping. They're using the ruler to kind of keep her hops consistent. Okay, so let's take a look at another way to use the same path, the same idea, but a much easier way to do it, all right? And so I've got this second grid up here to show you, and this time I want you to think about a lowercase e. So my little ladybug, she likes to write to her friends, and this is her favorite letter. She likes to write the lowercase e letter. That's her favorite. So she's up here in the attic, and she's going to drop down into that first room of my house, and she's going to do a lowercase e. And now she's going to come down the wall, lowercase e. Now she's going to go back up the wall, lowercase e. Ceiling, wall, wall, ceiling, wall, and now the floor. So you know this path. This is the same path we were doing before. It's just that we are putting our lowercase e on the path. And as with all things, I stitch far better than I draw, but you get the idea. And if you're wondering like how the heck I'm doing this on the computer, so this is called, it's a freebie program. There are loads out there. This one's a little more complicated than the one I was using the majority of last year. This one is called GIMP, G-I-M-P, and it's for Mac and PC. It's a freebie one. And there's loads of tutorials out there on how to use it. And then as far as how I'm drawing on the computer, rather than a mouse, I'm drawing with, it's a stylus that's shaped like a pencil, and then the mouse pad reads the movement and puts it up on the screen, just like a mouse. It's just a glorified mouse, just in the shape of a pencil. All right, so there you go. So now I've done that same path we did before, just my ladybug was doing a lowercase e, and it makes this really interesting little, I don't know, it's like a squeezy daisy is what I call it. And if you saw our, I don't know if we have a photo of okay, if you saw the title screen for today's meeting, you saw that squeezy design, squeezy daisy on it. So let's stitch this out. Here on our Millennium, and I've got my different levels of my house, and I'm up here in the attic, and I'm just going to bring my bobbin thread up to the top, and I'm using a gold glide thread here for our Glide into February celebration. And normally oh, did I say February? Ha, I'm already my brain's already like, let's go, let's get to the cruise ship. Okay, so I would normally go ahead and stitch in the ditch to stabilize this area before I go putting in this design. You can choose whether or not you want to stitch the interior lines, so the rooms, the floors, and the walls. It gives you a completely different look. So I would play with that. I would play with what does the design look like if the walls and the floors are stitched, and what does the design look like without it. So we're going to do it without it. I just have marked it with chalk. So we're going to have our little ladybug. She's going to hop out of the attic and down the wall, wall, ceiling, wall, wall, ceiling. And one of the things now, the floor, that you'll get used to if you're using a stand-up machine. Of course, these designs, here we go, wall, wall, ceiling, can be used both with a sit-down machine, both domestic as well as a sit-down long arm. So don't think that you have to have a long arm to do these designs. You do not. If you do have a long arm, my suggestion to you would be to start getting used to where you plant your eyes, because I don't look right at the needle. I look ahead of the needle. Here we go. Floor, 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 and now I've spotted my ladybug. I know where she is, so she's got to hide. She's going to run up to the attic. There you go. So let me break my thread, and then I'm going to move the machine around so that you can see it better. And there's that traditional, some people call it orange peels, concentric curves, continuous curves, sorry. there's lots of cathedral windows, there's lots of different ways to describe that. And if you, by the way, if your ladybug looks like she, like got lost and she like wandered into the woods before she figured out that she was in the room of your house, you can actually go back and make your ladybug do this twice. So you would have double hops, and there's so much going on that the eye loses the symmetry and can't tell when you don't get it just right. So for example, in this little connection point here, I didn't quite hit it. If I went through and added an extra hop, an extra ladybug hop, the eye would it would completely, there'd be so much going on, the eye wouldn't be able to take in those variations. Okay, so our ladybug, she's up here in the attic, and she's got her pen pal to tell her pen pal all about this great house that she's in, and she's going to write with her favorite letter, that lowercase e, same path. Again, I'm not looking at the needle, I'm looking ahead of the needle. When my eye goes to the needle, it's really only when I'm headed into the points of my grid. Otherwise, my eye is aiming for where I'm headed. It's about 2 inches ahead of my needle, which is one of the things I get asked all the time. Is they say, oh my goodness, that big old hopping foot, how do you see anything? It's such a big chunky thing. Well, the secret is I'm actually not even looking there. The machine doesn't need me to make sure it's going to take a stitch. The machine's going to take a stitch. I need to be paying attention to where I'm going. So I'm not looking at that hopping foot at all. Now, when I look at the hopping foot, typically is when I'm doing like applique or something where I need to really be cautious about where I'm going around. All right, so my little ladybug, she's going to head back up into the attic. And there we go. All right, I'm going to break my threads, and then I'll move the camera around so that you can see that a little bit better. So what do you think? Which one do you like? Put that over in the chat. Do you like this one? And I don't know what to call this one really. It's those kind of smushy daisies. But I don't have, I'm sure somebody has officially named it this. I'm not the one who dreamed this up. This has been around for a very long time. But this one came from the hand quilting world. So it's very traditional. Which is why it has so many different names, right? Because it's been around so long that everybody called it something different before the internet, because you had to make something up. And so this one is a more modern one. It's also more forgiving. Look at how, if I don't quite get in the corners, or, all my little lowercase e's are different, but because there's so much variety, the eye doesn't focus upon the symmetry any longer, the way that it did with those orange peel cathedral window designs. So what do you think? You got any questions? Let me know. I do want you to kind of play this out with some paper and get to know it, because for sure the Squish Daisy one, that one you can start off right away with it. It's super simple, super forgiving, really fun to do too, and it goes fast. Just remember that path you're taking. Jesse, did we have any questions?
No questions. Definitely a lot of opinions. There are people like both
for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, because some might be a little bit more at home in a traditional setting, whereas that squishy flower one probably is going to be a little awkward in something that's a little more formal. So, all right. Well, I hope that you try that at home, and be sure that you post if you do this on a quilt. I would love to see it. Remember that you can do these on any size grid too. I did the squishy flower one on a 1-inch grid. Now, ask me how quickly I regretted that choice, because it was pretty quickly that I regretted that choice. But it gave a completely different look because it was so small. So small and large, that's the great thing about these grid designs, is that they have so many different applications, but so many different looks out of the very same design, just based on size. So if you do it on a quilt, put it up there in our Quilted Joy Clubhouse on our Facebook group. I would love to see what you are working on. I want to thank our sponsor, APQS. APQS machines are handcrafted in Iowa. They're loved the world over, and we encourage you to quilt forever forever. And I thank you so much for all of your support, APQS. We love you guys, and we really appreciate it. If you are interested in finding out more information about an APQS machine, you can contact us here at quiltedjoy.com. You can also contact your local APQS store, your local APQS dealer, or you can go to apqs.com. We also have loads of information about all the different long arm machines over on our website at quiltedjoy.com. So thanks, APQS. We really appreciate you. All right, so I have some new arrivals that have come into the shop that I wanted to show you how fun they are. Now they're full bolts, so let me give me a second to bring them over here because they're heavy. Oh my gosh. And so all of the fabric that we have is all 108-inch wide. So they're all wide backs. So they're 3 yards wide. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at all that lovely, luscious loveliness. These are called Tahiti Dreams. Here we go. I'm talking about fruity drinks with umbrellas on cruise ships. This is what the sunset looks like. Tahiti Dreams. This one is pink, and this one is blue. And I'm going to put this down, Kelsey, and get the next two, okay? And so the next two I want to show you, I'm going to put them just right on top of these. Oh, they're so heavy. Okay, so this one is the Constitution. So it's a wide back, 108-inch width. Wouldn't that be great for a quilt of valor? It's like the old timey, it's got, it's kind of faded over here and then it's clear over here, but it's the Constitution for a backing fabric. And then this one is so pretty, all these dragonflies. This one is called, it's Dragonfly? Well, there you go, it's called Dragonfly. That was easy. And it's really gorgeous. Again, these are 3 yards wide, so that'd be perfect for the backing fabric for your quilt. So that is Constitution. And that one is Dragonfly. So those are some of the new fabrics. We've gotten some other new fabrics in the shop as well.
And we got all those links in the description.
And all the links are in the description if you're looking for those fabrics. So we have loads of new things that are coming in every day. And I just wanted to show you some of the cool stuff that's walked in over the last week. Yeah, Jessie?
We do have a couple questions
Oh,
about
perfect.
stitch length.
Stitch length, okay.
And if you use the auto or manual.
Yeah, so stitch regulation versus manual mode. When I am doing stand-up machine quilting, I will generally use the stitch regulator, and I have it at around 11 to 12 stitches per inch. I'm not super bogged down about exactly what my stitch length is. Generally, I just look at it and I go, would I want to pick that out? And if my question is, heck no, well then my stitch length is too little. I need to go a little bit bigger. I need to be willing, if I had to pick it out, to be able to pick it out. So it's just kind of what you like. Look at the stitch length, see if it's what you like. For a stand-up machine, I do like to use the stitch regulator. Sometimes I'll turn it off when we're doing videos because the machine, as it speeds up and slows down, it can kind of freak the camera out as it's moving along with the machine. As far as a sit-down machine goes, I highly recommend, if you have some kind of stitch regulator on your sit-down machine, that you disable it. I think you're going to have more success on a sit-down machine doing it free motion. And first, don't worry about your stitch length. Don't worry that you got bigger stitches and smaller stitches. You are not a computer. You are a human being, and there's soul and depth in your quilting. Just learn the path. Get to know how the movement of the machine is. Go faster than you think you should and move the fabric a little faster than you think you should, and your curves will smooth out. Once you have the flow of it, then you can start to focus in on your actual stitch length when you're on a sit-down machine. I think one of the frustrating parts for a lot of sit-down machine quilters is there's a lot to think about all at once. Like, not only are you thinking about the pattern that you're trying to stitch, you're also thinking about the speed you're moving your hands and how hard you're putting the foot down on the pedal. And then, goodness, now you got to worry about your stitch length too. Like, it's a lot. So give up some of those. Turn down the maximum speed of your machine so that when you put your pedal to the floor, you can smash it all the way to the ground, and it's not going to go any faster than what you've set your machine speed to be. And that way you can relax and not think about your foot, only think about your hands and your design. And then once you feel better about all that, you can then start to think about stitch length. if you guys have watched me before or have been following me, you probably have heard me say this a million times, but there's joy in the journey. I don't want you to think that you have to master it or that you should master it anytime soon, right? We are drawn to quilting because it's fun to kind of see your technique and your abilities grow. So don't expect perfection from day one. That's a computer. You're not a computer. You're a human being. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Any other questions, Jessie?
Those were the biggest ones I saw.
Okay, awesome. I would love it if you would review us over on Google. It helps the Google machine serve us up to other quilters so that other quilters can find us. And if you do know someone who you think would appreciate or enjoy the Clubhouse, I would absolutely love it if you would share that with them. That truly is the biggest compliment you could give me, is to share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it. I do read all of our Google reviews personally, and it just warms my heart. I am just so delighted that we are connecting with you and that you are seeing what we're doing and enjoying it as well. So a Google review really helps us grow and helps other people find quilted joy. So I sincerely appreciate it. Okay, so one of the things that we do in our Facebook group is I do a monthly call for people to post a photo of a quilt top, an unquilted quilt top, and then I select one of the quilt tops and show you how I would quilt it if it were my quilt. And it's a way to kind of break it down and let you get inside my brain, which can be a scary place sometimes, but at least so that you can see how I consider designs and how I think about things, and that may help you when you have a quilt top that you can't figure out. So all right, so here's the one I selected for this month. This is Darcene's quilt that she posted over in our Facebook group, and I absolutely love it. There's so much drama going on here. And one of the things that it will help us illustrate this was such a great thing for her to put up, because we're going to take that grid-based design that we just talked about and pop it into a diamond shape, right? We were working with a square shape. We're going to pop it into these diamond shapes. This is why I'm saying grid fillers, grid designs are so versatile. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here. I think I got a shortcut key, maybe. I'm hoping. Maybe. All right, I'm going to zoom in the old-fashioned way then. And I'm going to zoom in again because I want you to be able to see what we're talking about. Okay, so I'm going to work with, I'm going to zoom one more time. What's that?
Just the plus key.
That's what I thought I was doing. All right, I'm going to, oh, I bet it's Shift plus. Woohoo, there it goes. Because under the plus is a equal sign. That didn't do anything. Okay, so I'm going to start up here. And what I want you to see first is I'm going to ignore anything outside that triangle, because anything outside that triangle is a part of the larger star. So I'm just working in this one portion of the star at a time. All right, so what I'm going to do, notice on the diamond there are two short sides. So here's a short side of my diamond, and here's a, oh, hold on, and here's a short side, hold on, and here's a short side of my diamond. And then notice on a diamond you have long sides. So I've got a long side and I've got a long side. So I just need to pay attention to which are short sides and which are long sides. So for my short sides, I'm going to do my regular old ladybug hop. Ladybug hop. For my long sides, I'm going to do her little lowercase e. All right, I'm going to head this way. I'm going to make my I'm going to make my house. Rather than staying in all the whites, I'm going to go left to right here. So now I'm going to go up short. So that's a regular ladybug hop, and then a lowercase e. Short, ladybug, lowercase e. Ladybug, lowercase e. Ladybug, lowercase e. And I'm going to work my way across. And when I hit the end of this first row, I'm going to head down. Now this is a short, so it's a ladybug hop. And now I've got a long edge, so now I'm going to do a lowercase e, and then I'm going to do a short, and then I'm going to do a lowercase e on this long edge, and now I'm going to do a short hop, and a lowercase e, and a short hop, and a lowercase e, and then a short hop, and a lowercase e, and a short hop, and a lowercase e, and a short hop. Now I'm not going to go back up or I can't get to this next row of diamonds. So I'm going to leave that section alone and I'll do it at the very, very end. So here we go. I'm going to do the blue now. Short. Here's my long edge with the lowercase e. Short. Here's my long edge with the lowercase e. Hop, lowercase e. Hop, lowercase e. Hop, lowercase e. Now I've got a short. Hop, lowercase e, short, lowercase e, and literally this is going on in my head. If I don't have this repeating in my little brain willingly leaves and goes to focus on something else and I lose it. All right, now I'm going to do this section. Again, short, hop, lowercase e. So I hope you see that I'm just working my way down this segment of the quilt. And it also gives me a chance, depending on the size throat I have, if I'm using a long arm machine, I can easily just do the portion I can reach between my bars and then pick up after I roll forward the next segment that's unquilted. So it presents an easy way to break up a design. Short, lowercase e, short, lowercase e, short, lowercase e, short, short, lowercase e. And I'm going to keep on. I'm almost done because I want you to see what happens at the end. Yeah, short, lowercase e, short, lowercase e, short, lowercase e, short, short, lowercase e, short. Now I'm going to go back up. So I'm headed back up, and it's the long side of my diamonds. So that's why I'm putting that lowercase e on that long side of my diamonds. And I guess I should have done this one. No, that's part of the background. Okay. All right, Darcine. So there you go. That's what I would do in each of the segments. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. All right, I'm going to zoom out. So do you see what's happening here by doing that grid? It kind of tames it a little bit, where it pushes those diamonds back. It kind of presents a negative space suddenly, and the positive space comes out towards you. And it really defines then that central star that's making up this super dramatic quilt. And so I've repeated that basic grid in those diamonds all the way around. Okay, so now let's start talking about the actual star, the main star. So I'm just going to create a new, let's call it blank 2, a new area I can doodle within, and I'm just going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to recenter this up here, maybe, and go over a little bit. Okay, so I'm worried now. What I'm focusing on now is bringing those central designs into the middle of the quilt. And so I'm going to start up here, and I've decided to really embrace those straight lines and do like a V in each one. Sneak up the ditch. Now I'm here. 1, 2. Sneak up the ditch. 1, 2. Sneak up the ditch. And so this is, if you've heard me talk about the magic rule of 3, if we do a design that repeats an even number of times, we return back to where we started. If we do a design that is odd numbered, we will move forward. So in this case, I'm wanting to return back to the side that I started on. So I am doing 2 of these V's and then sneaking up the ditch to get to the next one. Okay, so there I've done that side of it. I'm going to come down here because when I hit that center star, what I decided to do, if I remember correctly, was sneak up the ditch again to here and then do one more of these, but go all the way to the center like that, right? And then head back up the ditch, back up the ditch. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like, Darcine. I'm gonna put this on. So there you go. Now notice that, let me turn that back off, Darcine, because I want you to see. So I did this side, right? I'll turn it back on. I did this side. This portion is a little bit of a different shape, but I treated it exactly the same. So I did the same thing where I went here and I did up here and snuck up the ditch, right? It's slightly different. It's like a chevron shape rather than that kind of herringbone shape, but it's still, I was able to do the same treatment and then up. Okay, so I'm going to hide that. I want you to see your star, Darcine, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So there's your star. It's all coming in towards the center, and let's do that center. So I wanted you to see too. So take a look. I'm going to take the star part off because I also thought, well, what if we just did straight lines, which I think would be also really interesting. The problem is picking up those long diagonals on a long arm machine because of course you can't do them all in one pass. And so the problem might be that your straight lines might give a little wobble or bobble. Much easier to do on a sit down machine than a long arm machine to do super long diagonal lines like that. But just that simple treatment with the curves in the diamonds and going straight on those stars would also be super interesting. So I'm going to actually turn that off though. This is what I thought was kind of cool. And then for your center, so take a look what I did there. I'm going to zoom into the middle because you're going to recognize it right away, Darcine. So there's those letter E's, right? In that center going through just like we did before. So we're kind of combining all the stuff that we just talked about only in different angles and it all works. So, so I'm going to zoom out again because I want you to see what's next is that outer border. So what do we do with this outer border and how do we treat that negative space? And what I thought is I just want to make this, I just want to honor the drama of this whole thing. And I thought if I can actually just take a straight line and go and extend these star points out. Where am I? I think I need to be there. And just extend these star points out. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little better. So I'm just taking the tip of that point and just going out with it, with each side, out. And then when I get to the corner, I go up to here and down and over and out. And then I'm going to just pick it up and we'll just do the same straight lines radiating out all the way around. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. I wonder, I probably should have done that on a blank. Let's see, I'm going to Control Z these because I've already done these and I don't want to go on top of what I did before. We'll see if I'm able to do so. Oh, I did it. Okay. All right, and so there's the border. All right, I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to scroll this, pan this down. So there you go, Darcine. Now you can do yours any way you want, Darcine, of course. But that's the way I would do it if it were my quilt. I think it's super dramatic, super fun. I can't wait to see what you do with yours, Darcine, so make sure you put a photo of it up in the clubhouse so we can see what design decisions you made. Jessie, were there any questions?
Yeah, Darcine was asking.
Oh, Darcine's watching. Oh, good. Yay,
She
Darcine.
was asking about the color of thread that you might use and if you had any thoughts on colors you would avoid.
Yeah.
Was a separate question.
Yeah, so Darcine, your quilt is blue and white. And so, you know, I hesitate to introduce a whole new color to it. Although, like a lime green would be super interesting in this case. Like something like crazy off the wall would be super interesting. But your colors and your fabrics are more traditional, I would say, even though they're polka dots. So I would probably lean towards something like a light gray that's going to show up the same in both the white and the blue. Because if you chose a dark blue in the negative space, in that white space, it's really going to holler at you, Darcine. And if you chose a white then in the dark blue, it's really going to holler at you. So you want something that's going to kind of talk the same on both colors, even though they're highly contrasting colors. So I would probably go with something like a gray that's going to read the same on both ones. But heck, a bright red like this too might be also really interesting. So don't be afraid to kind of play with color. You might have some fabrics left over from this quilt top that you could stitch into kind of like a sandbox where you could play with color of thread, you could play with size of thread to kind of figure out what you like best. But my tendency would be to go gray because it's more traditional, but I'm also like tempted to leap off and do a lime green or a red as well. So it kind of depends on how much courage you have that day, right, Darcine? But I'm so glad you're watching so you could see that I picked your quilt. So all right, Darcine, I want to see what you do. I believe in you, Darcine, I really do. All right, so Darcine posted this in our clubhouse, and we have so many amazing, wonderful quilters in our clubhouse, some of the nicest, kindest folks, and I would love for you to join us over in our Facebook group. It's a great place to kind of see what others are doing and support each other, and there's just the nicest, sweetest people in there, so I would love for you to join us. So here's some of the things that have been posted recently in the clubhouse. So look at Melanie's whole cloth, look at that feathered wreath, look at all those feathers, look at the grid. Melanie did such a great design, and I love that she just kind of leapt off. You notice that it's all kind of undulating feathers. They're very organic. There's not a lot of, she didn't like come up with like a structure so that everything repeats in every quadrant exactly the same. It's all kind of free flowing, and that's what I love about it. Great job, Melanie. Jennifer posted this. She used some purple thread. So we talk about colors of thread. She used a really beautiful purple thread on this quilt. Did an all over edge to edge design. Great job, Jennifer. And Barbara, when you posted this, my heart dropped because look at all that fullness. So this was a vintage quilt that Barbara was bringing back to life. And getting it to lay flat. So you can imagine how hard that is to do to ease all that fullness in. And Barbara, you did such a great job. So notice the design that she chose. She chose something very dense and nothing that crossed over so that she could kind of ease all that fullness in. Great job, Barbara. You deserve like your magic wand hat pin for the year for that. Good job. Pam posted this. Don't you love the people holding it up? I think it's a gift. I think that's who got the quilt. But Pam did this labyrinth quilt, and don't you love the different contrasting fabrics and how it just makes that whole quilt three-dimensional. Great job, Pam. Athena posted this one. This is a baby quilt. And she did an all over edge to edge on it, and it's got little pieces of puzzle, little puzzle pieces that kind of wander over her quilt. Really interesting, Athena. Thanks for posting that. And Carol, oh my goodness, so this quilt, Carol said, was 16 inches by 16 inches. Like it is an itty bitty tiny little quilt. And so she was posting that she did this with, she quilted this little quilt, and that one of the tips that she gave is that, when it's such a small quilt, you shouldn't use the regular size binding that you do on a bigger quilt, because she actually used a 2.5 inch size binding, and it cut some of those points off on the outside edge of her quilt. So a small quilt, go with a smaller size binding. Terry posted this one. It's a baby quilt. I love the look of this. It just looks like a little toys that the baby's going to reach down and grab and push across the floor. And she did this with partial seams. So I don't know if you've played with partial seams before. That's how you stitch this block. Partial seams are super, super fun. We actually just did an episode on the Love of Quilting Fons and Porter show all about partial seams, so look for that because I think you'll enjoy that a whole lot. And Barbara, this one was so dramatic. Like if you look at that left-hand photo, you wouldn't even know that was a quilt. Like it looks like it's painted. It's that ombre fabric is just such a great choice here, Barbara. And then she did those bold stripes, those bold lines, to really bring in the drama and the structure of this quilt. Great job, Barbara. So thank you so much for posting what you are working on. I love to see it. You all inspire me every day. So I can't wait to see you guys next month. So we will be joining again on Wednesday, February the 3rd at 1 o'clock Eastern. We're going to work with curvy designs on a grid, on a straight grid, curvy straight grid designs. And then also join us on social media. So we are on Facebook, and of course you can find the Quilted Joy Clubhouse also is a Facebook group. And then we're on Instagram, and we are also over on YouTube. But don't forget to head over to quiltedjoy.com, sign up for that newsletter, and you'll get our blog posts, and you'll get our tutorials, and you'll get some bonus information and bonus educational articles through that newsletter. But you got to be on the newsletter to get them. So, all right, I will see you guys in February. I hope you have a wonderful start to your 2021 year, and I will see you guys around. Thanks so much. Bye.